Councillor Rivard? Okay. Wouldn't be the first time. So we're going to start the meeting. Just before I call to order, I want to acknowledge that the land upon which we gather is traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq First Nation. And I want to welcome Ms. Donna Waddell as our interim CAO. Donna is back in familiar ground or familiar surroundings. And Donna, thank you for taking on this role.
For some reason it's not going to the screen.
Okay, and as I was saying, thank you, Donna, for taking on this role, and hopefully you'll enjoy the stay. So you see that we had the new system here, and I can tell you that it comes across much better on YouTube with the mics. When you're not speaking, just press your voice button, and that'll turn it off, and it will mitigate any of the paper sound or anything that you may be saying that you don't want to be heard. So, and I know some councillors have asked about just sitting. The protocol, Donna, correct me if I'm wrong, protocol is that when he or she stands, he or she has the floor. And I know that we have the mic that's adjustable. If you feel uncomfortable getting up, then you can stay seated, but I'm just advising or just giving you the option that it's protocol to stand up and speak when you're in the chamber. Any declarations of interest? Declarations of conflict of interest? None? Okay, under the approval of the agenda, I forgot to mention Councillor McLeod cannot make it tonight because he is home with the flu. Thank goodness he's staying home. Councillor Tweel and Councillor Yankoff, they're attending a meeting down at the, I think the Jones building and the Shaw building with the Minister of Social Development and Housing. And Councillor Duran, Tracy, did we hear anything from Councillor Duran? No, so he's just absent at this point in time. So approval of the agenda, because of the absence, we will have to delay planning and heritage and water and sewer utility. Is that what you're asking, Donna?
Yes, sure.
Could you just?
Yes, Your Worship. As their movers and seconders are not here, when they come in, which I anticipate they will, we'll move those back onto the agenda. We'll just delay them till later in the meeting.
Is that okay? So I need someone to move that we put 6.1, 6.2 near the end of the agenda and start with Public Works and Urban Beautification, moved by Councillor Ramsey.
On the planning, with the planning ones, the other three people aren't here. Councillor McCabe, yeah.
Good point. And just, Councillor Bernard, just in the future, so that others can hear, you have to press your the button. So seconded by Councillor, great, hold on. Councillor Bernard, Councillor Yankoff. Is Councillor Tweel on the way?
Yes, I believe so. I saw him.
Do you want to leave as is? Donna?
I apologize, Your Worship.
No, we understand it, yes, and thank you for attending that meeting. So, could you just sign them? Okay. Leave it as is? Okay, we will leave the agenda as is, okay? No problem. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, great. Okay, so we have adoption of the previous draft minutes, regular monthly meeting, May 9th, special meetings, May 11th and 24th of 2022, public planning meeting, May 31st, 2022. Moved by Councillor McCabe, second by Councillor Bernard. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes? Okay. So we will move on to reports of council and planning and heritage. Councillor McCabe, are you the vice chair?
I am the vice chair, so I'll do my best to introduce tonight's planning and heritage committee report. Tonight we have 8 items. There is a major variance. There is 4 temporary structure variances, an amendment to an existing CDA development agreement, as well as a amendment to a zoning and development bylaw, and some housekeeping amendments. So I'm going to allow Donna to read them. If there's any questions, I will do my very best to answer them.
McCabe and seconded by Councillor Yankoff, that the major variance request to reduce the required flankage yard setback from 7.5, 24.6 feet to 6.2 meters, 20.5 feet, in order to construct an addition onto the existing warehouse on the property identified as 85 Maple Hills Avenue, PID number 134114 in the airport zone, A zone, be approved.
Question? Question called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. 7-0. You want to go to the next one, Donna? Hold on.
Moved by Councillor McCabe and seconded by Councillor Yankoff, that the request for a temporary structure variance for an outdoor patio to occupy 3 required parking spaces at 131 Sydney Street, PID number 339077, until October 31st, 2022 be approved, subject to 1, the applicant receiving an associated building and development permit from the Planning and Heritage Department, and 2, the Planning and Heritage Department receiving a letter of authorization from the property owner.
Questions called? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Donna?
Moved by Councillor McCabe and seconded by Councillor Yankoff, that the temporary structure variance for an outdoor patio to occupy 3 required parking spaces at 330 University Avenue, PID number 359687, until October 31st, 2022, be approved, subject to the applicant receiving an associated building and development permit from the Planning and Heritage Department.
Questions called? Great. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Moved by Councillor McCabe and seconded by Councillor Yankoff, that the request for a temporary structure variance for an outdoor patio to occupy 2 required parking spaces at 70 Grafton Street, PID number 340273, until October 31st be approved, subject to 1, the applicant receiving an associated building and development permit from the Planning and Heritage Department, and the Planning and Heritage Department receiving a letter of authorization from the property owner.
Question called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay.
Planning number 5, Your Worship, that the request, moved by Councillor McCabe and seconded by Councillor Yankoff, that the request for a temporary structure variance for an outdoor patio to occupy 1 required parking space and 1 required loading space at 101 Longworth Avenue, PID number 363671, until October 31st, 2022 be approved, subject to 1, the applicant receiving an associated building and development permit from the Planning and Heritage Department, and 2, the property owner and applicant providing the Planning and Heritage Department with written acknowledgement of Maritime Electric's letter dated June 2nd, 22, and written acceptance of any safety risks associated with the proposed proximity of the Red Island Cider outdoor patio patrons and staff to the Maritime Electric easement described in said letter.
Do you have a question, Councillor Bernard?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to confirm. So one of these spaces is a required loading space. Is that Maritime Electric's loading space, and they're writing in the letter that they're allowing them to use it?
Councillor McCabe, do you want to yield to Mr. Forbes, or what do you want to do?
I'll defer to Mr. Forbes for clarification.
Thank you.
Your Worship, Maritime Electric they've reviewed this plan, and they are just recognizing that they do have the easement there, but there's nothing that's coming forward as a part of this proposal that's compromising their easement. They're just indicating, please be advised, we have an easement there. We do not want that blocked or compromised, but they don't have a specific issue other than the fact that they want their easement respected.
Follow up. So when you say easement, are we talking about the loading space? The designated loading space?
Your Worship, they have an easement to get to their property that's on the side of this particular property. They have some infrastructure in behind, and that easement allows them to gain access to that infrastructure. And so they've reviewed the plan, and it's tight, but they don't have a specific issue with this other than they just don't want any encroachments into their easement in case they have to get in to get access to that infrastructure.
Yeah.
Clarification?
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is the loading space that's been designated by the city of Charlottetown for loading zones.
Right.
We're giving this out for a patio.
Correct. Yeah.
So anyone that needs to use that loading space, will there be a loading space available for them to use?
In this case, the loading space, they are utilizing the loading space, but that's a required parking in the bylaw. You need to have one loading space, but because of the nature of the building there, every property needs a loading space. But that's a part of this application that during the summer months, while this term is happening, they won't have that space, but they can still drop things off, and it shouldn't create a problem on the property. But it's just that when you're looking at these properties and they're utilizing certain parking spaces, some of them are allocated for specific purposes. So they're just highlighting that it is a loading space. It could have been, let's say it was a wheelchair accessible space. That would be a harder one to compromise on. So that's the issue there.
Want a clarification on that, Councillor Bernard?
So you're confident that this is not going to cause a problem for other businesses trying to drop off stuff then? They have the room to drop stuff off?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Question, Kevin? Councillor Ramsey? Questions called? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor McCabe and seconded by Councillor Yankoff that the request to amend the existing development agreement in the Comprehensive Development Area, CDA zone, as it pertains to the property located at 15 St. Dunstan Street, PID number 1075993, in order to construct a 5,000 square foot addition for the expansion of the existing retail area, be approved to proceed to public consultation.
Questions called? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Tweel, did you get that resolution? That was number, if you go into your package, number 5, is it? Six, sorry, number 6.
We're starting number 7.
Did you vote in favor of it? Okay. What is it? Okay, go ahead.
Moved by Councillor McCabe and seconded by Councillor Yankoff that the request to amend Appendix G zoning map of the Zoning and Development Bylaw for the single detached residential small R1S to single detached residential narrow R1N to permit the subdivision of 46 lots for single detached dwellings on the remaining portion of land in Sandalwood subdivision, an extension of Much Crescent, PID number 773051, be approved to proceed to public consultation.
Yeah, so this is just to go to the public consultation. Okay. Questions called? Okay. It should be on your screen there, Councillor Twill. No, it's not. Can't get it up? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. 8-0.
Moved by Councillor McCabe and seconded by Councillor Yankov, that the proposed zoning and development bylaw, PH-ZD.2, pertaining to the following sections: Section 3.3, Development and Building Permits; Section 5.9, Home Occupations; Section 8.1, Zones Table; Section 35, Water Lot Amendments; Section 47.2, Election Signs; Section 48.3, Subdivision Requirements; Appendix A, Definition of Terms; Appendix F, Fee Schedule, with the exception of Section 3.15, Reconsideration Process, be approved.
Councillor Duffy, you had your hand up, sir. Would you like to speak to it?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, sir.
Your Worship, I will not be supporting this resolution. It's not that they're not all great resolutions, it's just the fact that this reconsideration resolution, like, I see it as the most important resolution in the whole binder tonight. We can do a lot better work here in the review process or the appeal process if we leave the second level of investigation or whatever to IRAC instead of us taking the second kick at the cat after we kind of maybe made a few mistakes the first kick at the cat. I think after we've had our whack at it, we should be off to IRAC. That's where the brains are, that's where the knowledge is, that's where the experience is, the education, the technology. It's not for us here to take another run and maybe make more errors. And I bring to your attention, and all members of council, page C5 in the binder, which is 5 of 8 of the planning board meeting listings. Like, this whole page on the right-hand side, it's full of errors or correction of what was thought to be true. For example, people can't go to IRAC if they don't have any money to hire a lawyer. You don't need a lawyer to go to IRAC. You have further down the next bullet in the first set of them, staff is recommending for the approval of these proposed bylaw amendments that are put before us. And then at the last bullet on the next section, it says members of the board agreed to support staff's recommendation to amend the bylaw with the exception of section 3.5. So it's hard to understand what they're supporting and what they're not supporting. So I would vote for this resolution if it wasn't for the putting aside of that particular section, 3.15, for further study. I mean, it's too important. All we've done is we've had a public meeting on it. Planning board has met and made a recommendation as it is here tonight. We haven't had time to discuss with fellow councillors the ins and outs and the ups and downs of what this could be if we were to take a bit of a study of it. For that reason, there's nothing against the other resolutions. It's just that I can't show my displeasure with one without denying them all. Thank you.
Councillor Twill, just before I go to you, Councillor McCabe, do you want to answer that, or you want to leave that to Mr. Alex Forbes? What's your wish?
I can certainly answer it. There was an awful lot of discussion after the public meeting where we heard from residents at our planning board meeting, and we really felt that, yes, IRAC is a place where people can go and know they don't require a lawyer. There was discussion around the intimidation alone of IRAC, as well as it just is a second sober thought sometimes, and the 3 basic threshold questions that are required to be answered don't require a whole lot of extra time at that point if we feel that we made the right decision in the first place. So we felt at that time we would recommend not to include it in the amendment.
Did you want to follow up there, Councillor Duffy?
Yes, just quickly, Your Worship, on that, which is the 3 thresholds that one has to be met in order to be considered for a reconsideration. There was one application we had, ironically, on January the 6th of 2021, and which is that rings a bell with everyone. That's when the United States almost came to its knees, and that was the same night when we had this particular application before us. And I'm not going to mention the name of the application or associate. I'm not out to embarrass or upset people, but in that particular case, there was the three thresholds that would be considered. They named one threshold, but they didn't give any evidence of the existence of that ability to enter into the reconsideration because of that threshold. They mentioned number 3 or number 1, whatever it was, but they didn't support it with any information or evidence. But this council said, yes, your reconsideration is granted. And that's the sort of thing that shouldn't happen. And then when we went into the second round of approving the application or not, there were some pretty ridiculous theories put forward or citing of bylaws. Like it had to do with one aspect, one very narrow aspect of the zoning and development bylaw, but some folks were talking about R2 and buffer zones and all that. It had absolutely nothing to do with the matter at hand, and that's how. If it had gone to IRAC, Your Worship, I'm sure it wouldn't have lasted till lunchtime. Thank you.
Councillor Whelan, did you want to follow up there, sir? Turn on your mic.
I think the public meeting was crystal clear from the residents that attended and from the emails that we received that the reconsideration process is an opportunity for members of the community to evaluate what takes place at planning board, and then of course a resolution by city council. And sometimes city council doesn't get it right. It's not a criticism, not trying to be critical. Sometimes we don't get it right, and we don't take all the information into consideration, or there might be no information, right? So I think it's an opportunity for the community to come together. Not everyone wants to go to Iraq. It is very intimidating for residents that have to go to Iraq, and regardless of whether or not you don't have to be a lawyer, it's hard for a resident, a layperson, to go to Iraq and to face off against the city solicitors. Some of these lawyers have been around for 45 years. They're hired guns. They're some of the best lawyers around. And how is it a resident or a couple of residents are going to go argue their case before Iraq? The second sober thought clause, as I call it, the reconsideration mechanism, is not unreasonable. In fact, it is reasonable. It gives the community, it gives the neighborhood the assurance that if it doesn't go right the first time and not all the information, not all the facts are on the table, we have an opportunity to petition city council and come back with information that wasn't considered the first time round. So I think we should be doing everything we can to be able to assist our residents and give our residents the opportunity to come back and say, here's a great opportunity. You missed it. It's not being critical. It's not being a criticism of council. You missed some information, and we need to have another discussion. So I think it's a good mechanism, and it should stay.
Thank you, Councillor Twill. Councillor McCabe.
And I think another point that I should make, because we had 3 key questions that a resident did ask that evening about the number of applications that actually came to planning for reconsideration, how many of those actually went to Iraq, and there wasn't that many, so we just felt that at this time to keep that option available would be the best decision, hence the recommendation to move it forward.
Councillor Ramsey, question? Question's called. Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. I have Twill, Yankoff, Rivard, Ramsey, McCabe, Bernard, Deputy Mayor Cody, and against? Okay. Donna, did you give me the?
Your Worship,
Yep.
Your Worship, this is a reading, the reading papers for the resolution. To adopt bylaw PHZD 2.061, a bylaw to amend the zoning and development bylaw, to amend sections of the zoning and development bylaw PH-Z 2.2, pertaining to sections 3.3, section 5.9, section 8.1, section 35, sections 47.2, section 48.3, appendix A and appendix F. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw, PHD's ZD 2.2-061, as it pertains to zoning and development bylaw amendments as attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council.
Thank you. Thank you, Donna. Shall I carry? Okay. No opposition. Okay, and 8-0. Councilors McLeod and Durant. Okay, Donna, that's it? Councilor McCabe, that's it for the planning report. Thank you very much for quarterbacking tonight's presentation. Thank you, Alex. Mr. Forbes. So our next report is Water and Wastewater Utility Committee. I know the chair is not here. Who's the vice chair? Councilor Tweel? He's the vice chair? Yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. In place for Councillor Durant, the minutes are in your packet, Your Worship. There is 3 resolutions for council consideration.
Councilor Bernard, I believe Councilor Tweel is the vice chair. Is that true? Yeah.
I could be wrong. I thought it was. I could be wrong. Go ahead, Councillor Tweel, please.
Councilor Tweel. No. Councilor Tweel, press the button. Press the button.
Yes, received a call from our manager, Richard McEwen, this afternoon. Bob, Councillor Bob is not able to be with us. So the report is in the package. We have 3 resolutions for council's consideration. And of course, our manager, Mr. McEwen, is here to answer the questions, particularly of a technical nature, and take it from there.
Okay, no, could we just get a question first from Councillor Yankoff? Councillor Yankoff?
Just a shout out to the water and sewer staff. I had the opportunity to call the emergency number for a ward resident on Saturday, and they dealt with that within 15 minutes, and it's just a big shout out, and I just wanted to say thank you to the staff of water and sewer.
Can you take that back, Mr. McEwen? Oh, thank you very much. Okay, Donna?
Moved by Councillor Tweel and seconded by Councillor Cody, that the City of Charlottetown accept the tender, Deputy Mayor Cody, that the City of Charlottetown accepts the tender from DNS Grass Cutting in the amount of $12,744 plus applicable taxes for grass cutting in the utility.
Questions called? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 8-0, okay.
Move that the City of Charlottetown accept the tender from Lee McDonald in the amount of $66 per hour plus applicable taxes for hourly backhoe hire rate for the water and sewer utility.
Questions called? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 8-0. Okay, down here.
Moved by Councillor Tweel, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the Charlottetown Water and Sewer Corporation service charges as detailed on the attached schedule be approved.
Questions called? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 8-0, okay. Richard? The next report is Public Works and Beautification. I believe, Councilor Yankoff, are you the vice chair? Oh, is it Councilor, excuse me, Councilor Duffy, can you take over?
Thank you, Your Worship. Public Works and filling in for
Turn on your mic, sir.
Sorry. Public Works and Urban Beautification Committee met on May the 25th, 2022, with draft minutes included in the regular monthly council package. The Civic Board for Persons with Disabilities met on May the 12th of 2022, with draft minutes included in the regular monthly council package. We have 8 resolutions are anticipated and to be forwarded. I will answer any questions, not all of them. I'll refer heavily on Mr. Adams to help me along. Thank you, Your Worship.
Chief Engineer is here, Mr. Adams. How's baby Leo? Okay, good. Councilor Bernard first, he hit his hand up first, and then Councilor McCabe. Anyone else? Am I missing anyone? Okay. Councilor Trio. 1, 2, 3, you're third. Go, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just wondering, there was, as everybody knows, there was a lot of conversation around bike safety with this new roundabout, and I'm just wondering, was there a discussion on that, and what was the result of that? 'Cause I don't see anything in the minutes on it.
Your Worship, so at the meeting, there was some broad discussion about it, but it was more so we indicate that we were meeting with the folks from cycle-friendly communities to hear their concerns about the roundabout and to see what changes, any recommendations or suggestions they have, and how we could incorporate that into the overall plan at the end of the day. One of the big challenges I will let everyone know is one thing we do have to remember is this project started back in 2008 when active transportation wasn't what it's like in the past 4 or 5 years. So when the preliminary design was done and the land was pretty much 95% purchased, other than the remaining piece of land, active transportation wasn't considered in terms of additional bike lanes or multi-use pathways around it. Because one thing with multi-use pathways and sidewalks, a safe sidewalk width is 1.5 to 1.8 meters wide. A safe multi-use pathway is 2.5 to 3 meters wide because of the handlebars, if you 2 bicyclists meet. So, and right now with the design for a lot of areas, we are right up against the property line with the sidewalk. So that has been some of the challenges for us to try to put in additional cycling features. You can't put a marked line in the roundabout. There's just truly no safe way of doing that. So as of right now, again, some of the things we are looking at is the augmented signage to warn drivers of cyclists to take the lane, as well as we will have safe areas where it's drop curb in the sidewalk where cyclists can dismount, get up onto the sidewalk, and cross and get to the leg of the roundabout that they're trying to get to. So those are 2 options that we're looking at. But again, we will meet with the folks from cycle-friendly communities and see what other great suggestions they may have that we can add to improve safety.
Yeah, and I thank you. And I think that's all we were looking for, Mr. Adams, was just if there was a conversation to be had, and we're moving here a little quick. And I mean, if there's no room, there's no room. So that conversation is still there, and if need be, there's time to make adjustments if a proposal does come up that may work in that area. Okay.
Yeah, Your Worship. Just like any project, there's always change orders that come about. We don't see any changes that we're able to. That's going to be substantial change and substantial costs.
Okay.
It would be rather modest in terms of costs and changes to the overall design.
Thank you, Scott.
Just before we go to Julie, Mr. Adams, Steve, as an SCL, were able to build a 13-kilometer bridge across the Northumberland Strait. So I think we can do some engineering to accommodate an active transportation pathway. It may not be the 2.5 meters because that is under TAC, right? Transportation Association of Canada. So that's a guideline. So there is a big need to incorporate walking, riding, skateboarding, rollerblading, just to make it a very active transportation. So please try to make that possible. The calls and the emails that are coming in, I think will only grow bigger or larger after tonight's meeting. Councillor McCabe, sorry.
No, that's great. And I appreciate and am very excited about the roundabout that is going to happen at the Vote Corner finally, because you're right, it's been talked about for a long, long time, and it's nice to see that it's going to come to fruition. But we also have almost designated active transportation as a priority for our city. And what better time before you break ground to have a plan in place to deal with how we are going to support and encourage active transportation within the city. So when, if you could answer, is this meeting with the bike group planned to take place? And could this be, I know the resolution's ahead of us tonight, but could we defer this application until, or this resolution until we have a little bit more of a plan? Would be my two questions.
Just to answer the deferral of the motion can go forward. If we have to establish or look at change orders, that would come in another resolution. So I prefer to just keep it on. As you said, it's been since 2008, and I think the contractor wants to get a clear indication from staff and the council where we're going. Councilor McCabe.
No, and that's great. Again, it's just, is it going to be more cost effective to have this all done before they start doing the work?
Mr. Adams, I know a change order is a change order, so it's an additional cost whether we do it before or after. It's part of the tendering process. Mr. Adams, did you want to answer her question about the date of meeting?
Certainly, Your Worship. So the meeting's happening this Wednesday with the cycle-friendly community.
Okay. Councillor Ramsey, I think, Councillor Tweel, and then Councillor Yankoff. Did you?
No, the other speakers, they asked the same questions I was going to ask, but as you know too, Your Worship, we're getting emails from residents in every ward, for the bike path and everything like that. So it isn't coming just for Ward 5, it's coming from other wards too.
Yeah.
So they're all very concerned over it. Thank you.
Councillor Tweel, and then Councillor Yankoff.
Thank you for your report. During the capital project process, one of the projects that's been on the books now for several years is the reconstruction of Pasmore Street. And I made it quite clear during the last 2 or 3 deliberations during capital projects about the sidewalks. And
Are you? No, this is still a report, Councillor Tweel, or Councillor Bernard. Councillor Tweel,
pardon me?
you're asking a question about the Pasmore sidewalk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a
Did you-
concern about that, or?
No, did you want to ask Mr. Adams or
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
What's your
through
question?
the chair.
Okay.
So the sidewalks, I said, were dangerous and libelous. We have many seniors that commute up and down that street, as well as children going to St. Jean's School. The sidewalks are crooked. You said at the time that you're going to have a sidewalk crew there to do sidewalk maintenance and to straighten up the sidewalks. Mr. Evans, can you give me a time frame? Because I'm in contact with the residents, and they're looking for a time frame. I indicated what you said during the budget deliberations, and they're pretty poor condition. So looking for a timeline.
Timeline for Pasmore.
Yeah.
Passmore Street.
Yeah, to
for
get the
sidewalks.
sidewalk crew there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Adams?
Your Worship. So yes, so we talked about this today actually. I believe it's next on the list for one of the crews. So likely you should see a crew in there by the end of this week, first of next week, just depending on weather right now. Days like today delay us, of course. But yes, I'd expect to see someone at the latest next week there.
Thank you.
So you can pass that timeline on to the residents. Next week, is it, Mr. Adams? Yeah, next week. Just before summer starts. Councillor Yankoff.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just referring back to, I know we haven't put the resolution yet on the floor. I'm going to have a really hard time supporting this resolution unless we can get a commitment that active transportation is going to be included in this, and if we can get a commitment, because if not, I think we're doing a disservice to the citizens of Charlottetown. Thank you.
Okay. Just one second. Councillor Rivard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to follow up on all the discussions with respect to the roundabout, I'm in the same boat. But here's the two things that we need to consider on the deferral. And I guess Scott, you can kind of add to this. The cost of material from month to month, day to day, is going through the roof. And my fear is that if we delay this, that the cost could be $100,000, who knows, $200,000 more. We don't know. We just know the cost of materials continues to go up in construction, be it asphalt, be it whatever. As long as we have a commitment, again, this is key because I am hearing from my residents as well, that we are not closed-minded to offering the active transportation trail. That is key. So I want to make sure we get the best of both worlds here, if possible. That is capturing the cost that is today versus maybe what's tomorrow, but making sure that there is the opportunity to have this put in.
Councillor McCabe.
And that's exactly what I'd like to concur to, that we have a commitment to doing something to move forward with this project at this time.
So Donna, could we add a friendly amendment when we get to the resolution to what was suggested, recommended by Councillor Yankoff?
Your Worship, it would be something to the effect that best efforts be made to include an active transportation corridor?
I wouldn't say best efforts. I would say all efforts will be made to incorporate an active transportation pathway.
And I understood from talking to Mr. Adams that that's what was going to happen. That's why they're having the meeting. But at the end of the day, there's either room for it or there's not.
Yeah. So
So they're going to do their best.
Yeah.
They're going to look at best
Yeah.
practices in
Yeah.
other places, correct?
Yeah.
See if we can incorporate it. But
So-
there's a
I think we're all agreeing. All efforts will
Yeah.
be, if we can add that, all efforts. Is that all right, Councillor Yankoff? Do you want to add to that, or do you want to suggest something?
I'm not sure in terms of process whether or not we can add that in without all of council's agreement. So I'll defer to Donna for whether or not that is even a proper process. But if anything, it needs to be in public record that us as a council value the residents' need and want and right for active transportation on this roundabout
Yeah.
and throughout the city.
That's why I say it would be added as a friendly amendment. Okay?
So, Your Worship, all efforts to be made to,
Incorporate an active transportation pathway. All efforts. Does that friendly amendment, Donna, have to be voted on? Or that can just be added?
it's just, it can be added with the mover and the seconder's approval, it can be added.
Okay.
And that's Councillor Ramsey and Councillor Duffy.
Yep. I don't want to go, are there any other questions? On that okay, sir. This one, resolution or another one? Yeah, okay. Gonna give this to Donna. Just while Don is doing that, today I spoke to the mayor of Shawinigan. Yes, very excited. And in Shawinigan, great game on Saturday. Best efforts ever given. This has been a great year. I think, Deputy, were you at the game? I know Councillor Duffy was there. Councillor Ramsey. It was a great game, but just didn't happen. But a big thanks to the staff, coaches, fans of the Charlottetown Islanders. Of course, the players. Players is a given. No comment. Okay, Don.
Moved by Councillor Kevin Ramsey and seconded by Councillor Mike Duffy, that as per the conditions of the tender for St. Peter's Road and Belvedere Avenue roundabout, the submission of Island Coastal Services Limited in the amount of $5,754,393 plus all applicable taxes be accepted. All efforts to be made to incorporate an active transportation road into the design.
Councillor Twill, you have a question?
Considering the discussion that has taken place around the table. And I know what our manager has said, this project's been on the books for several years. And he did state from the inception, when the conceptual designs were being looked at, from a preliminary perspective, is that, active for transportation really wasn't an afterthought, I guess is a good way to put it, just paraphrasing. But today, the active transportation pathway is indispensable to a livable city, a walkable city, a cycle-friendly city for rollerbladers and for people with disabilities. And while I appreciate the amendment that's been put into the resolution, with all due respect, I think council needs to put the brakes on here. There's going to be a meeting here in a few days' time. So with that in mind, I'm going to move a deferral. I think we got to get this project right. We got to get it right from the outset. The community, and rightly so, the community is demanding. They're not telling us, they're demanding that we construct this facility to incorporate all user groups, not just the vehicle traffic, so that all of our user groups, whether you're cycling, runners, wheelchairs, rollerbladers, can coexist equally and fairly. Equally and fairly. And I know that there's going to be discussions with the engineer that's involved with the design of this project. I think once that concept is looked at, then it's brought back to City Council. And in my mind, I believe we can make a much more informed decision, and having the confidence of the community that have emailed us, have phone called us, and not requested, but have demanded, and rightly so, and I support them 100%. So I move to deferral, Your Worship.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Tweel, no seconder, but Councillor Tweel, I do appreciate your comments, and I'm sure, I'm very positive that the spotlight, the lights will be on this project, Scott, because as Councillor Tweel has said, active transportation is very, very much an integral part of what our community wants to be, and I think this is the right path, no pun intended. Supplementary question, Councillor Tweel? Go ahead.
So, if meeting with the engineer, not our current engineer, the manager, but the engineer that's working on this project comes back and says, well, it's going to be touch and go. We're going to increase signage, and we'll put a couple of, we'll extend, we'll do a little bit of a pathway here, but we really can't do it from a truly idealistic active transportation pathway. This decision will not go over very well by the members of the community. I mean, like I said, the members of the community are not asking, they're demanding, and rightly so. I mean, you're spending what, $6-7 million on a project of that magnitude. Surely we can make the adjustments and the adaptations to make that a reality. And before we sign off here, folks, I think we should put the brakes on here just for 3 or 4 days. That's not asking too much. And then the mayor can reconvene the meeting. We can meet here at a noon hour, one item on the agenda. Say, okay, here's where it's at. This is what we're dealing with. As opposed to could be, would be, should be, maybe, not sure. So that's what motivated me to move the deferral, Mr. Mayor.
Just Councillor Rivard and then Councillor McKay. Councillor Rivard.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, Scott, how long, I guess, is this tender? I know it's closed, but the bid, does it have to be decided tonight? Is it open for potentially another week with that quote? Is the quote 7 days? What?
Your Worship, so I'd have to double check. I believe it is, I think it's 60 days from, it's either 30 or 60 days. I would have to confirm that. That'd be the one deciding factor we'd have to check. That's correct.
Okay, thanks. Follow-up question just quickly. So, in the next 4 days, 5 days, the opportunity for you to meet with the transportation group, does that fall within the 30 to 60 days that we have, that this amount is still valid and doesn't change, that we can come back here with no additional costs associated with it, like, no harm to the city from like a financial standpoint?
I would have to verify that again. I'm not sure the exact dates with all that, so I'd have to confirm that before making any comment on that.
Just, can we find out tonight? Yeah, but I'm saying, the question is it 30 to 60 days? And I want to know if this falls within, if the amount is okay for the period of time to allow for this meeting to happen, and yet we can still vote on this with that amount, I'd be okay deferring to have that conversation. So that's what I want to find out before this vote, 'cause I think that's kind of pivotal in.
Mr. Adams?
I would advise, without awarding within very short window here, we risk being completed by the end of this year. So they have a completion date right now of December. And that is if all the materials can come in on time. And that is only essentially guaranteed if we award immediately. Any delay beyond that, there is no, likely won't be able to be completed large, and most of the materials are underground, from the storm sewer pipe, the water and sewer pipe, all that stuff. So they won't even break ground until they know they have all that supplies coming in. So that is the biggest concern about any delay. It's really the underground stuff. So again, my biggest concern by delaying it for the active transportation is it can have some huge ramifications on the actual getting the work done. And again, we will make the commitment to put in active transportation 100%. We can get creative, and I'm thinking just off the cuff here is we could look at, instead of the concrete sidewalks around it, we put asphalt, but because it's not the same width, we could say it's unidirectional. So you could say cyclists could have to go around the same direction as traffic. So we can get very creative here. So, it's not a matter, there is solutions out there. It's just making sure that we can, it's going to take some time, a little bit of time, just planning, some brainstorming, just to make sure it's going to work safely for all users. So it's something that I'm quite confident we can come up with a good solution, and I would just hate to see any delay on a vote for materials, and we don't get off the ground this year.
And Councillor Rivard, supply chain issues to get in plastic pipes, the plastic pipe, just the drainage, you're looking at 6 to 8 weeks, that's minimum right now. And Scott, is this a public works and water and wastewater project?
Your worship, that's correct. Any of these major projects like that now, anytime we're doing some significant above ground infrastructure work, we try to do the water and sewer as well. Because nothing worse than we finish a job and a few days later, just because of all the vibrations above us, we weaken something water and sewer related, and they're in there digging it out again. So yes, it is a full replacement within the extent of the work, all underground infrastructure.
Councillor McCabe.
Well, it sounds like we were going to do some education and signage upgrades around without an active transportation trail, so we'll just have to be creative, and sounds very positive that we will see the active transportation trail, so I'm comfortable going ahead.
Councillor Twill, you want to sum up? You get to turn on your mic.
Yeah, it's also an environment sustainability issue as well.
Yes, I know that's right.
That's sustainability,
Yeah.
on the initiatives that, that we're working on, plus active transportation. The advisory group comes under our mandate. So I wanted to make that clarification.
Councillor Twill, we all agree with you. It's just that the timelines, as you know, this project has been going on since, what, 2008?
Yeah, but you know what? It's imperative and essential we get it right the first time round. Like I said to our CAO today, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So.
Okay. So, do we have a question called? Question called? Yes. Question called. All those in favor of the resolution that includes all efforts to be made to incorporate an active transportation route into the design and construction, please raise your hand. Okay. Against? Okay, just 1 second. Councillor Twill. Tom, do you have another resolution to read?
A lot of them here. Moved by Counselor, moved by Counselor Ramsey and seconded by Counselor Duffy. That as per the conditions of the RFQ for traffic control signs and posts and the submission of Martech Signalization, Inc. for all street signs in the amount of $110,032.80 plus all applicable taxes be accepted, and that the submission of Rayfac Agencies Limited for all posts in the amount of $46,694,000 plus all applicable taxes be accepted, and further that the submission of Mallard's Forestry Equipment, Inc. for all post hardware in the amount of $4,551 plus all applicable taxes be accepted.
Questions called? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 8-0.
Moved by Counselor Ramsey and seconded by Counselor Duffy, that as per the conditions of the tender for sidewalk construction, the submission of Earthform Corporation in the amount of $762,650 plus all applicable taxes be accepted.
Questions? Do you have a question? Councillor McCabe.
Yes, sorry, I'm hammering out the questions tonight, Scott. So I see that 2 city streets have been taken off the list for this year due to the increased cost of materials. Has the active transportation trails gone to tender yet?
Your worship, so those are still under design. We anticipate by the end of this month, we will be tendering the AT pathways that were also included in the capital budget.
Good, Councillor McCabe. Councillor Yankoff.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I must say, my disappointment that Grafton Street will not be paved this year. However, I do respect the process of worst first and look forward to it being back on the list for next year. So thank you.
Thank you for respecting the process. Question? Question called? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay.
Moved by Counselor Ramsey and seconded by Counselor Duffy, that as per the conditions of the tender for 2022 street resurfacing, the submission of Island Construction Limited in the amount of $1,657,863 plus all applicable taxes be accepted.
Do you have a question, Councillor Twill?
Yep.
About the tender? Okay.
It's not so much on the contract. I support the contract. What I'd like to bring to council's attention, in particular our manager, is neighborhood streets that need resurfacing. Now, I understand the formula of worst first, but there's also a formula. There's also different criteria that sets out the formula in terms of how the streets are graded. But I don't believe we're getting to our neighborhood streets quick enough. A lot of neighborhood streets need to be paved. They're not getting paved. We can take on big projects, but yet some of our neighborhood streets, I'll give you an example. Let's look at Granville and Bishop Alley, further on down Eden Street. Some of these streets need to be and should be paved. Some of these streets were torn up when we did the sewer separation, sanitary sewer separation, where half the street was paved and the other half of the street was just left. And it makes no sense. So I think, in future, council needs to look at an aggressive neighborhood street paving program. It's not just looking at what the criteria is, because if we were truly doing worst first, some of these streets would be paved as opposed to some of these other streets. And I know you take traffic counts and some other parts of the criteria into consideration. So I think we need to rethink that thing, Manager of Public Works, because residents are, they're asking and they're saying, we've waited and we waited and waited, and there doesn't seem to be an urgency when it comes to paving neighborhood streets. So we've got to rethink that, and the sooner the better.
Well, there's one solution. We could put more money in the budget.
Well, we could do that too.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Bernard?
Yeah, I was just gonna basically say that. I mean, the worst first was put in there so that the neighborhood streets that need to be done did get done. So at the end of the day, if you need more money in the budget, then the capital budget is the time to bring that up. And I don't disagree. That wasn't that long ago, we had $2 and $3 and $4 million in the street paving budget. I believe this year we're looking at 1.6 now with the extra 500,000. So, to keep ahead of the streets, you probably want to at least budget $3 million a year. But those concerns, like I say, it's best to bring them up during capital budget time. So, 'cause I don't know how you can just jump in and say, well, this street needs to be done because, well.
It's quite simple.
Did you get his question?
All you gotta do, Councilman Bernard, is look at the state of the streets.
Yeah.
And they're waiting, the residents are waiting, and they're waiting, and they're waiting. And, if that amount is not enough, I agree, I don't disagree with you, then we can make amendments to our budget.
Sure.
The budget is just a floating document, so we can always make amendments to it. So we can back, say in a month's time and add another million.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway,
Yeah.
I bring that to council's attention because, and I encourage you to go up and down these streets. You can see it for yourself.
I've been walking the streets, knocking on doors. I know there are lots of streets around the city that need repairs, but as Councilor Bernard said, if we want to put more money there, then that's a capital budget discussion. Right now,
Or more amendments.
we're looking at
budget.
1.6 million. And Scott, is that up by 30% over last year?
Are you referring to
The asphalt?
the cost of the material?
Yeah.
Yes, we're up quite substantial.
30%.
Just like every material across the board.
Councilor Yankoff?
Thank you, Your Worship. The great thing is that we're about to engage into a strategic planning exercise, and so this is certainly something, perfect timing that we can add into our discussions. Thank you.
Okay. Question called? Yes. Question called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 8-0. Just 1 second.
Moved by Councillor Ramsey and seconded by Councillor Duffy. That as per the conditions of the request for quotations for asphalt testing services, the submission of East Tech Engineering Consultants, Inc., in the amount of $17,000 plus all applicable taxes be accepted.
Okay. This is an easy one. Testing. Services. Yes, that's for asphalt testing service. Yes. Go ahead. On the testing services?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Just a few years ago, Scott, you made a recommendation to the Public Works Department, then eventually came to council where we did a seal on University Avenue. And you said at the time that, correct me if I'm wrong, that it was a 10-year guarantee for the seal. For that seal, it was a coat. That was that firm that was brought in from, I think it was New Brunswick. And that seal was guaranteed for 10 years' time. My question is, was there a warranty with that contract? Because if there wasn't, because this is talking about, asphalt testing. So I'd like to have, I want to make the request, have University Avenue from, the Charlottetown Mall in, tested, because it looks to me like that seal that was put on University Avenue was eviscerated.
You want to add that to the testing services contract?
No, does that take that into consideration?
Mr. Adams?
So that work was done over 4 years ago now?
3 years ago. 3.
No, this is before, this is year 5, I believe.
Okay.
Again, back then, what I said was it will extend the life of asphalt from 4 to 8 years, depending on traffic volumes. So it reacted exactly as we expected it to. 4 to 8 years, high traffic volume area. And again, the goal is it's like paint on a house. It's to protect a house, protect the underneath it, and that's what it's doing. It's protecting. It extends that life of the asphalt. It's much cheaper to put down. Just like painting your house is cheaper than taking off your side and putting new siding on. That was the intent of it, and it worked quite well.
Okay, so the testing services is for $17,000. Question? Question's called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councilor Yankoff? Yay? Okay. Oh, Donna here.
Moved by Councillor Ramsey and seconded by Councillor Duffy. That as per the conditions of the tender for Fitzroy Parkade facade improvements, the submission of Williams, Murphy and McLeod Limited in the amount of $509,000 plus all applicable taxes be accepted.
Okay, question? Councillor Twill.
Back when we discussed this, I think it might have been at budget time, I asked if there was an alternative to doing the improvements, enhancements to the facade of the Fitzroy Parkade. I mean, you look at an expenditure of over $500,000. That's a lot of money to do a facade on a parking garage. There's $500,000 you could pave a lot of our neighborhood streets. So, with all due respect, Mr. Mayor, I understand what you're trying to do, but at the same time, there's got to be an alternative to. Do we look at other options? Is there an alternative as opposed to spending, $500,000 on a facade of a parking garage?
Councillor Twill, the history of that, I think Councillor McCabe and Councillor Rivard was there at the time. It went through a design review process. That design review process is also applied to private enterprise, private businesses. So they have to respect what the recommendation is or was from the design review. So the recommendation from the design review board was for this facade upgrade. It wasn't my idea. It was Councillor Rivard, can you add some light to it?
Yeah, Your Worship. I think one of the things we got to be careful of here is that, it's a double standard. If the city is going down a different path than what is expected of our community, especially the downtown area. So, I asked the same question, is there a way that we could find, I think I suggested, nice murals or painting. But if we're going to do that, then we better be prepared to offer the same lenience, if you will, to business owners and everyone downtown who we're expecting for them to to be held at a high standard. We should as well.
Thank you. Councillor, I just got some others from the planning. Councillor Yankup and Councillor McCabe, and then Councillor Twill.
Thank you, Your Worship, and just a reminder of the 1% for public art for that project. That's a public building, so just want to make sure that that's accounted for in the minutes. I think we discussed that, and it's not just new builds.
1%?
Yeah, there's a public art policy for any renovations or anything that's done on public buildings that are city-owned.
Councillor Yankup, that will be on the top item of the next planning committee agenda. We've already discussed it, so yes, it will be part of the discussion. Thank you. Councillor McCabe and then Councillor Twill and then Councillor Bernard.
Yep. I thought we did talk about there was going to be discussion around another option to the public. Maybe I'm wrong, but we did talk about public art or something as a secondary option at one time, but we didn't hear anything back. So I think Councillor Twill's not really too far off with there was going to be some discussion whether or not that could be an option versus the money that would be spent this way.
Yeah. Again, just what Councillor Rivard stated, we followed the guidelines of the Design Review Board. The Design Review Board made a decision, and it was passed by the committee and then passed by council. So if we're going to set the bar high for our developers and other partners here in the community, then we better stand up and promote the same high standard. Councillor Twill.
Okay, so the Design Review Committee, could you tell me if, in fact, did they discuss alternatives and other options, other possibilities where the cost wouldn't be $500,000? I mean, we just heard, maybe public art. Have we reached out to the artisan community? Have we talked to them and asked if they would be interested in taking that on as a project? I'm sure that they're a lot much more creative than we are, and maybe there's an opportunity there to do something truly unique, where our artisan community is directly involved, and maybe can come up with a much better concept than we could. These are just thoughts or just suggestions. I'm not trying to be critical. But when you're talking $500,000, I think we need to look at alternatives and options. And I think, Lana, I mean, why not reach out to the artisan community? Isn't that what our city's all about?
Councillor, no, McCabe and then Councillor Rivard. Councillor McCabe.
Yep, and I know, I've been on planning board the whole time, so I recall that we did go through design review when Councillor Rivard was still the chair, but I believe that the discussion around possibilities and further discussion on public art was after. And we never did get a response to whether or not that would be an option.
So, Councillor McCabe, just to understand, as you know, being on Design Review Board, being an active member of the Planning Board and the Heritage Board and the Design Review Board, there are guidelines that we must follow. We followed the guidelines on this design review. If we want to break from it, then we will have to set a path forward that other design reviews will have to have some flexibility, leniency to it. Councillor Rivard and then Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. You kind of touched on what I was going to say, is that I'm all for saving money and public art and beautifying downtown, but we just have to make sure that we follow a process that is similar to that is expected of the developers in Charlottetown, especially in the 500 lot area. So just be cognizant of that piece, right? I'm not saying it's not a good idea, but if this is what we're moving forward with or wanting to move forward with, let's make the necessary changes to our bylaw or things of that nature. That way everyone has the same opportunity to do the same thing with their buildings. And just like I said, it's a bigger beast than isolating it to one facade. Thank you.
Councillor Yankoff.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just flagging the point that, yes, we did follow a process for design review, and I was part of that process, and I supported it, and I still support it. But I also just wanted to flag that we do have a public art policy, and I just want us to be cognizant of that and ensure that we are following proper process.
Fully agree with you, Councillor Yankoff. Okay, question called? Questions called, Councillor Duffy? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, Councillor McCabe, yea or nay? Councillor Twill, yea or nay? Okay, just 1 second.
Moved by Councillor Ramsay and seconded by Councillor Duffy, that as per the conditions of the request for quotation for new or used 2019 to 2022 bucket truck, the submission of McFarland's Limited in the amount of $149,900 plus all applicable taxes be accepted.
Questions called? Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Is that a song? The old bucket? And any more there? All right, well, look, you got.
Excuse me, moved by Councillor Ramsay and seconded by Councillor Duffy, that as per the conditions of the request for proposal for engineering services, stormwater data collection and modeling, the submission of WSP in the amount of $67,860 plus all applicable taxes be accepted.
Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Councillors and Dwan absent. Okay. Any more done? Is that it? Okay, just finishing this up. Okay, thank you, Councillor Duffy. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Adams. Okay, moving on to economic development. Councillor McCabe.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Economic Development, Tourism, and Event Management Committee met on May 19th. The Arts Advisory Board met on May 31st. The minutes are in your package. We have no resolutions for consideration, but I'd like to use this time to reflect on some positive updates and provide a summary of the great work that's happening in this department. Below are some of the things that I've asked staff to update me on, which they've worked on events to bring to Charlottetown. And these events in turn benefit our residents, our local business, our tourism industry through return visitation. And just to kind of highlight a few of the events that they've been able to bring to our city, the CCAA Women's Volleyball National Championship, the University Sport Women Hockey National Championship, the Canadian Folk Music Awards, the Wheelchair Basketball Junior National Championships, the RCMP Musical Ride, the Van Gogh of PEI. There's going to be the international soccer match coming to Charlottetown soon, and there's lots of excitement buzzing already. They have Eastern Flag Football Championships, National Flag Football Championships. There's the Canada Soccer Toyota National Championship for the U15 Cup, and there's 2 more international sport events that are expected to be announced soon. I think it's important to point out that this is the big picture. We are a very small destination competing with metropolitan cities for the same business. It requires creativity and strategy. And one way the staff of this department sets itself apart from these bigger city centers is by selling the destination through networking in person. Building relationships and selling Charlottetown doesn't happen in a written document. Staff work within their approved realm, which is vetted through our annual budget process, and the return for Charlottetown is incredible for the work that these staff people put in. I want to thank the staff for their commitment and dedication to their jobs. I want them to know that we know Charlottetown is better because of their efforts. Thank you, Your Worships. Any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Fully agree with you, Councillor McCabe, about the staff and the work that they do for this great city. Councillor Yankov.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Councillor McCabe, for your report. And I just wanted to reiterate that the work that the Economic Development, Tourism, and Event Management team, they do a great job within the scope that they can work within. So, thank you.
Councillor Duffy, did you have your mic? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor McCabe, just as a follow-up to your little note, I too recently have found that recently staff have been the unfair target of articles published by the Canadian Taxpayer Federation. Everyone in this chamber and the residents of Charlottetown need to know that all expenses go through the same approval channels. The expenses of the Events Development officers were all approved. The millions of dollars brought to Charlottetown through event tourism and products have had substantial impact on the economy, have been the result of the Events Development Officer, who has been the recipient of many awards. This business of generating games, conventions, large meetings, entertainments is hard enough work, and you have to be there to compete. Emails and phone calls just won't cut it. And as usual, when people do not know the business, such as those without experience in the field, they always think the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. A phone call of support to our staff on the first floor who are drumming up business for our city would be a tremendous help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Great words of wisdom there. Councillor Ramsey. Councillor Duffy, can you turn off your mic, please?
Thank you for your report, Councillor McCabe. And as being as chair of Economic Development Net for 4 to 5 or 6 years, I've been on a few conferences with these people, and I know how hard they work and how they push the city of Charlottetown and all that, and I'm very proud of them, so that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think Donna Waddell said if Wayne's not in the, he's not, what is it, Donna? If he's here, he's not doing his job. But I do want to mention a couple of things there, Councillor Tweel. If you got the Atlantic Business this week, Mitch Cobb was named Innovator of the Year. So Mitch is with the Upstreet Bar, and his product, the non-alcoholic beverage, is selling across the country, is now moving into the States. And then I also have Jason Lee. Jason Lee is one of the top 50 CEOs here in Charlottetown for his PEI Seniors Homes. And another person I saw here in the magazine, Shelley King, who is CEO, another top 50 CEO for 2022, Natural Products Canada. So I just wanted to extend my sincere congratulations to the recipients for their great work in promoting business in the Atlantic region. Anything else, Councilor McCabe? Okay. Next report. Councilor Twill?
Thank you. Members of council, the report is in your package. Our manager, Ramona Doyle, is here as well. Welcome, Ramona. Pretty in-depth report, and we'll do our best to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Twill. Councilor Yankoff?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Councillor Twill, for your report. I just wanted to remind everyone that this is Bike Week, so get your bicycles out. You'll see me riding my bicycle. I named her Eileen, so I challenge everyone to get out there on your bicycles this week.
Yeah,
And every week.
We'll meet down at the park, right, Ramona? Are we not having a cycle around the park?
Yeah, we do have an event next Saturday at Victoria Park, and the mayor's going to lead a ride around the
We're gonna have
the loop.
Yeah.
I may challenge him to a race. We talked about that.
I'm there to take them on there, Councilor Twill. You have to get your bike out there, Councilor Twill, and the helmet.
All units, the mayor will be leading the parade. All snipers in your position.
But, Ramona, I know you'll be going on as a comment for a year, and I wanted to take this moment to thank you for everything you've done to this point. You've really turned this whole department inside out. Environment sustainability for the city of Charlottetown is definitely on the map. And if you look at the SWITCH program, we're up to 400 applicants that are tied into the SWITCH program, amounting to close to $3.8 million with up to 3 communities, Wolfville, Stratford, and Charlottetown. We're doing the most work, but great on Wolfville and Stratford. But again, I want to wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and hopefully you'll be back after your 1 year secondment.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you.
Ramona, you're going to be here for July, right?
I will. I have one more committee
Good.
meeting.
No,
You're not
we'll-
free of me yet.
Oh, no.
I just want to get a jump in the chair.
Oh, I know that, Mr. Mayor. I know. You're sitting there all day long, plotting and scheming.
Anything else? Any questions for the Ramona or the chair? Actually, for Ramona. Okay, thank you, Ramona. Thank you, Chair. Okay. Strategic Priorities and Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. We met June 9th, and then you said July. The draft minutes are in your package, and the Youth Engagement Advisory Committee met May 10th, and the draft minutes are also in your package. I have no resolutions, but one of the things I like to say, Your Worship, is that we're working PI Elections Act changing a few things, and we're going to bring someone in for all of council so they can get it all out of the horse's mouth, I guess is the easiest way to say. So we're all on the same page, and we're going to work that out with our CAO and then go from there. So if anyone has any questions up until then, we'll have Mr. Garrity here. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, we're good. Okay. So that was an easy one. Finance, Audit, and Tendering. Deputy Mayor Cody.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our committee met. The report's in your package. You'll see it was a fairly lengthy agenda, so I do want to thank the staff and committee members for sticking with us through that whole process. There are 4 resolutions for council to consider tonight. We looked at a lot of resolutions, some that we've already voted on here tonight, some that will follow, but if there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Finance question there, Councilor Twill. Go ahead.
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. I do have a finance question. Thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor Cody. I believe it was last Friday, I sent an email regarding the report that was submitted to council on behalf of staff, collaboration, Public Works and Finance. And that report was apparently new findings or findings of the Enterprise PEI report. And I asked if that report is a public report, and the rationale for that is I think it's imperative that the industry has a copy of the report. So as we're working through the process, we're starting all over again. And as we're working through the process, they can have the information, formulate their questions and concerns, and work collaboratively with the standing committees responsible for the report, and then ultimately with City Council. So is that report public?
Councillor Twill?
Yeah.
Did you want me to answer? Can you have a seat? So, Councillor Twill, we will be meeting on the fourth Monday of this month. And I think the CAO, the interim CAO, will be sending out the agenda. That will be on the agenda, but I'll let the deputy speak to it also. Sorry there, deputy, just to give you all right to speak to what he wants to address?
Well, thank you, Councillor Twill. I do want to say that I don't think there's any new information. I think all the information is coming together at once as opposed to being fragmented as we walked through the process before. But we did discuss it in an open session, so I would assume it's a public
Okay.
document.
I have a second question.
Yeah. Again, the issue, correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy, it will be the fourth Monday that we'll be discussing this item, correct? Can you just verify that by hitting your mic?
Yes, correct.
Okay, follow-up question on the finance report?
Oh, yes, on the finance report. Deputy Mayor Cody, as you know, for the last number of months, I've asked a question about emergency spending, regardless of how emergency funding is activated in the different departments. I've asked that question a number of times. I'd like to get a handle on how emergency funding, the functionality of emergency funding, how it's activated, how it's operational, how it's how it's put in play, and what the criteria is, and who's involved when it comes to signing off, when it comes to emergency funding. I'd still like to get a response, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Twill. You're right. You did ask a couple times. I apologize for not getting that answer back to you. As you can see, we had a couple-hour meeting there Wednesday. But maybe, Your Worship, if we could ask senior staff just to look into that question and give an answer back to Councillor Twill. Is that?
That's a good question, and our CAO is here, the interim CAO, Councillor Twill, and she'll follow up on that, right, Donna?
Yes, Your Worship, I may have some questions for Councillor Twill at another time, but I can direct them directly to him. Thank you.
Well, that's all right. He can go up to your office. Okay, Councillor Yankoff?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Deputy Cody, for your report. I just wondered if, and you may not have this exact answer on in your person at this moment, but I know the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, we have benefited quite a bit over the years with what was called the gas tax program, which is now referred to as the Canada Community Building Fund. I'm just wondering, are you able to get a number for us of what annually amount of money that we are able to benefit from through this program yearly? Thank you.
It does fluctuate, Councillor Yankoff, but I can get you definitive answers in the next couple of days.
Is that good, Councillor Yankoff? Okay. Do you want to go to the resolutions? Okay.
This one may help Councillor Yankoff a little bit with the question that she just asked. Moved by the Deputy Mayor Cody and seconded by Councillor Duffy, that as per the attached, Council update its current 5-year capital investment plan for expenditures under the Canada Community Building Fund, which is formerly the Gas Tax Fund, direct allocation funding.
Okay. Do you have that attachment there, Councillor Yankoff? Do you see the attachment? Yeah. Plus, I have a spreadsheet that I requested from the ISIP, and I can forward that on to council. It shows the breakdown, because Councillor Bernard, I believe 2 years we received double amount, 2 fiscal years.
Yeah, 1920 and 21-22.
Yeah.
So it's
Double.
usually been around 3.3, and it, as you can see, ramps up at 3.6, but traditionally it's been 3.3 million. We've been getting a year. There's
Yeah.
2 years there we end up getting double allotment.
Yeah. Good. Question? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 8-0.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Cody and seconded by Councillor Bernard that the following resolution and its attached background dated September 10th, 2018 be rescinded. That the City of Charlottetown accept the woodland parcel of property 8.5 acres for parkland for the Montgomery Heights subdivision as outlined in the attached concept plan, and that the Planning Department will enter into a development agreement with the developer, and further that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay. Question? Okay, question's called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Yankoff? Yep. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Cody and seconded by Councillor Bernard that the City of Charlottetown accepts the developer's proposed woodland parcel of property 7.8 acres and pathway parcels of property 1.38 acres for parkland dedication for the Montgomery Heights subdivision, PID number 192161 and PID number 192153, as indicated on the attached concept plan and survey subdivision plan. Whereas trees are required to be removed to install a retention pond, 0.2 acres, on the woodland property, the developer has agreed to provide the city $52,000 for tree replacement, and that the developer agrees to pay and cover the cost associated with paving up to 505 meters of the pathway in lieu of the additional 1.62 acres owing to the city in parkland allocation for this development, and further that this will be included in the Planning Department's development agreement with the developer.
Question called? All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Cody and seconded by Councillor McCabe that the City of Charlottetown entered into the attached agreement with On Ice Entertainment Limited to host an international soccer match on August the 7th, 2022, and that the $45,000 plus applicable taxes hosting fee be expensed from the extraordinary expense line in the 2022-23 operational budget, and further that this transaction represents no overall increase to the city's 2022-23 operational budget.
Question there, Councillor Bernard?
More of a comment, Your Worship, and it's a great example here to show that the work that our events development officer does in Wayne Long. This particular international soccer match is being well talked about out there in the community now. People just love and can't wait for this to come. This doesn't come easily without having to travel and talk to people and get the contract together. So kudos to Wayne Long. This is just another great example of a good turn coming to Charlottetown. So thank you, Your Worship.
Yeah. And it mirrors what we did there 2 years ago with the Canadian Premier League, the Island Games, in collaboration with the province. Six weeks of soccer and not one COVID case. Not bad. Question? Question's called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 8-0. Well, that's it. Nancy and Paul, thank you very much for your attendance. So it's Human Resources and Communications and Administration. Councillor Yankov.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Human Resource Communications and Administration Committee met on June the 7th. The minutes of the meeting are included in your package. We have 3 resolutions for your consideration, and if you had had an opportunity to read them, one is around the community engagement framework. The other is around the changes to our mandatory vaccine policy. And the main highlight in that policy is we're removing the mandatory vaccination to the option of either mandatory vaccination or the ability to provide a negative COVID test to your manager, depending, it could be a weekly, it could be 3 times a week, depending on your job. Now, there's a few other changes in there that were more marked, and if you have any questions, I will do my best. And kudos to the IT department for this new system that we're slowly getting used to. And like I say, if you have any other questions, I'll do my best to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yankov. Councillor Twill.
Thank you for your report. Just discussions around hiring process. So, I think we were warned, I guess, that elected officials are not to be involved in the hiring process or trying to help our residents get jobs. So, is that a reaffirmation, or why did that come back up again?
Thank you, Councillor Twill, for your question. It was just more of a reiteration. Some of the councillors had reached out to me as chair of the Human Resource Committee that they have been recently getting calls from residents inquiring about jobs, et cetera. So I just thought it was a good opportunity for us to just remind the public, councillors, staff, all of us, just of the process. Yeah. Does that work for you?
Follow up there, Councillor Twill.
Is it okay to send them off to the Human Resource Department? You know, once they fill out their application, attach a resume, can you make the suggestion to contact the Human Resource Department so that they can set up an interview and explore those possibilities?
Yes, Councillor Twill. It's always a great opportunity to familiarize yourself with all the funding employment opportunities that are available within the city, the province, and the federal government. Absolutely referring them to the human resource to fill out their applications, encouraging them to reach out to the manager to set up meetings. Absolutely. It was just more so a direct conversation of, can you get me a job? It's not fair to put that on, to set a resident up for disappointment when it is not our role as councillors to find the jobs. It is our role as a councillor to give them direction on how we can facilitate and help them with their process. Does that work for you?
Follow up, Councillor Twill.
So an elected official can't contact a member of a selections committee. Let's say there's an opportunity, let's say Public Works, for example. Well, there's 4 or 5 positions that are permanent jobs. So councillors are prohibited, as I understand it, from contacting a member of the selection committee saying, I think you should hire candidate X because he's a great worker, he's been here for a number of years, he's very punctual, very mindful and respectful of his colleagues, and will do a great job. I don't think you're allowed, are you allowed to do that?
Do you need the answer to that question?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. No, of course not. And it's unfortunately Bethany's not here this evening to answer these operational questions, but it is very much not our role as city councillors. It's important that we stay in our own lane. Thank you.
And Councillor Yankov, I believe this was brought up in the first years when we came together as a council under the new Municipal Government Act, that's an administrative issue. Now, I know when I got my first job, I had to get an MLA to sign my application. Those days are gone. Okay, I did get the job for 3 years. Yeah. Okay. Get a resolution there? Okay, just 1 second.
Moved by Councillor Yankoff and seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the City of Charlottetown accept the use of Charlottetown Hall to support the city's community engagement efforts, and that the City of Charlottetown accept the Charlottetown Hall brand guidelines as an addendum to the existing Visual Identity and Graphic Standards Guide as per the attached documents effective June 13th, 2022.
Councillor Yankoff, would you like to speak to it?
Just more so a shout out to the communications team for putting together this document, and just, kudos, great job, and yeah, keep up the good work.
Great to see you back too, Curly. Any comments there, Isaac? Do you have any comments?
None at all.
You don't have a question? Oh, okay. Okay, question was called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, Donna.
Moved by Councillor Yankoff and seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the City of Charlottetown accept the Canada Games 2023 employee volunteerism policy as per the attached document effective June 13th, 2022.
Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 8-0.
Moved by Councillor Yankoff and seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the City of Charlottetown accept the amended mandatory COVID-19 vaccination policy as per the attached documents effective June 13th, 2022.
Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Is that it, Donna? Okay, just 1 second. Councilors. And. Okay. Okay, our next report is Protective Services, and we have the two chiefs here. Councilor Verne.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Protective and Emergency Services Committee met on May 24th. The minutes are included in your package. There's 3 resolutions for your consideration tonight. Before I sit down and take any questions, I just want to take the opportunity to recognize and congratulate the retirement of Constable Christy McKay on her recent retirement. As we know, Christy is she's been involved quite heavily in the schools as a school resource officer, and everyone will know her for all her volunteer work with Special Olympics and stuff. So I just want to say congratulations to her, and hope she enjoys retirement.
Oh, I'm sure she won't be retiring. Councilor McCabe.
Thank you, Councillor Rivard, for your report, and I also want to extend a congratulations to Christy, and I did read that she was moving on to bigger and better things, which kind of is going to trigger my question around the role of the school resource officer. The other school resource officer is going out on maternity leave. I also know that you're struggling a little bit for the operational piece, and I'm just wondering if the commitment for this program will continue. I don't know if people realize the invaluable service of the school resource officer in the local high schools. We're very diverse, we're very large, and the service that these police officers, and I understand that it's challenging, but I'm praying that we're going to get creative and be able to have and not lose this position. It's like taking candy out of a candy store and telling a kid to go in and pick what they want. That role is incredibly invaluable to the schools that they service. So just an update.
Fully agree with you.
Thank you, Councillor McCabe. And I don't know the definitive answer to that question, which I'll give it to the chief, but I would be absolutely shocked if there wasn't a plan in place to make sure that this service is still provided in the school system, because it is important. So with that, Chief, I hope you're going to back up my statement.
Your Worship, Chair, you certainly recognize that the value of these positions, and that's why we've invested in them over the years.
and the state of our staffing is concerning to that aspect. I think our plan is to engage our stakeholders and the other beneficiaries of this type of extended services in the Department of Education to how we can make this more sustainable given our current situation. We do believe in this program, and we hope to carry it forward, but I think it's going to take some work and participation and some investments from other parties.
So I guess what I'm asking is, can we ensure that these discussions happen? I mean, we're coming into June now. School will start again in a couple months. Can we provide some direction that we don't wait for these conversations? I don't know if people understand a school is almost like its own community, and I'm a little bit selfish because I do work in one of the local high schools. But like I said, there's so much diversity and so many needs, and it really does. We use the school resource officer in ways that saves a lot of resource time that we wouldn't otherwise be calling the department to deal with stuff that the relationships are already there. It's just something that I would really like to see move forward.
Thank you, Councillor McCabe. As chair, you have my commitment that we will explore options and have those real conversations with, as the chief said, with other partners to make sure that we have something in place for, hopefully something in place for the fall that's even better than what we have now.
And Councillor Rivard, I was over to Torbay several weeks ago with the other mayors, Atlantic mayors, and Halifax, you're probably familiar with it, Halifax has launched a parking ticket forgiveness program. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It goes from July 1st to September 30th. And anyone who receives a parking ticket for a meter violation in the downtown will be eligible to have the parking ticket waived by making a purchase at a local downtown business for the same amount as the ticket within 3 hours of the ticket being issued. Could you forward that back to your committee? Again, this is a small way that we can help downtown business. We don't have the fiscal firepower that the province and the feds have, but where we do have some control over it, it would be a big help. So I'm just asking, and again, I just received this information and had a call from someone that heard a report. There was a report on CBC Atlantic about this program. So something to look at.
Your Worship, that it sounds like a great initiative, and if you have information on that, please forward it to myself and the chief, and we will start having those discussions for sure.
Thank you kindly, sir.
Thank you.
Councillor Bernard.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just wondering, Councillor Rivard, so there was a statement made probably 3 weeks ago now that our police force wouldn't be able to get enough summer staff to cover off the police officers. I think there's a little bit of concern that they've taken that to say that we won't have enough police officers on the patrol this summer. And I just want to confirm, we have enough police officers. I assume that's going to mean that not everybody can go on vacation at the same time, but we'll still have the allocation of police officers that we normally would do. Is that correct?
Thank you, Councillor Bernard. Yes, but again, a ton of staffing challenges for the chief, be it vacation, be it sick time, be it whatever it may be. And unfortunately, you'll see with one of the resolutions is that finding summer officers that used to be there, 6 to 8 of them that would be able to help us out during the summers, they're just no longer there. So that's putting a ton of strain on the department, a ton of strain on the chief, and again, that's why you'll see the resolution coming forward tonight that we can discuss further. But Chief, if you want to kind of expand on that, please do.
Your Worship, Chair, certainly I want to assure the general public that core policing functions, emergency response will be nothing impacted there. But it would be misleading if I said we would have the same level of service as other summers. This is going to be a challenging summer for us, staffing-wise. It's important that the staff that we find a balance of giving them their time off, but also maintaining service levels. But there will be some challenges through the summer regarding the level of service that we've historically provided.
Councillor Bernard, you want to follow up?
Yeah, so this comes from not having the cadets for the summertime to work some shifts for officers that are on, I guess through the chair, if you don't mind, or do you want me to go through you?
Well, it's not the cadets that we're referring to. The cadets, we'll still have those. I had the same question at the meeting. This is the kind of the second year, if you will. Once they're cadets in their second year, when they're actually officers, though these are the ones we're having problems picking up. It's not the cadets so much. It's the actual police officers in the second year. Is that correct, Chief?
That's your correct. You're correct on that, Chair. It's we're still going to have our OJT cadets that we mentor and bring along throughout this year. But historically, we always relied on last year's graduates that were looking for experience that hadn't found full-time employment yet to come to Charlottetown to help us deal with population influx and offset vacation schedules. It's that demographic of police officers that no longer available or is highly sought after by other police agencies in the region. So, as we can only, deal with the applicants that we have, it's become very challenging in that aspect. So we're not in this boat alone. There's other agencies that are challenged also. That overall will have an impact in service.
Okay, which is why you're taking, okay, so it's a seasonal officers that you're finding it hard to get. So that's why with the resolution you talked about, that's why you're making a couple full-time officers. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. You want to add anything to that, Mr. Chair?
Not right now. We'll wait till the resolution's read. It's just because we're going to talk about maybe the budgetary
Okay.
piece of this.
Donna, interim CAO, could you please read off the...
Moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Ramsey, that the Public Works Manager be authorized to cut grass, remove any garbage and other materials or debris, clean up and properly dispose of same, and that the city will be in kind responsible for the expenses at the following locations: 295 Richmond Street, PID number 341172, 147 Mount Edward Road, PID number 1068170, in accordance with the terms of the dangerous, hazardous, and unsightly bylaw of the City of Charlottetown.
Thank you, Donna. Nope, Councillor Yankov had her hand up and patiently waiting. Councillor Yankov.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just a bit perplexed. This doesn't seem like proper process. I'm wondering why we are cleaning up in kind, and it's a slippery slope if we're going to start doing this, and unless there's information I'm not aware of on these properties, but I'm quite certain that usually this is an expense that goes back to the property owner. So if there's some clarification around that, thank you.
Councillor Rivard.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Yankov. So, yeah, this is a different situation because the unsightly portion, I guess, of the property wasn't caused or wasn't by the homeowner, and it wasn't because the homeowner had left the grass to grow or the bushes grow. Unfortunately, there was some squatters that set up and damaged and left a huge mess, and that's why the city, in this case, is saying that these are in kind, that we will go in and clean it up because it wasn't for any actions on their part or lack of actions on their part. This was just an unfortunate situation to the homeowner.
Councillor Yankov, follow up, please.
Thank you, and that certainly makes sense. Is this not something that we should then have been provided as councillors, a report, so we would know why we were doing this for a one-time only? I don't see it in the report, and I apologize if it's there and I don't see it.
Yeah, we'll make sure we do better next time. We'll make sure it's in the report.
Your Worship, Councillor Yankov, yeah, we may have done better communicating the reasons for this, and as the chair indicated, going forward, we'll make sure that there's better communication on these exceptional circumstances.
And Councillor Yankov, I thought that would have been noted in the minutes because it was brought up by Councillor Duran about the in-kind, correct, Chief? I remember him calling out that question, and the explanation was given, so it might have been just missed in the minutes, so I know it was discussed, and you did provide a reasoning for it. Is that correct?
That is correct. We did discuss it at the committee meeting and provide some justification. But it's the onus on us to review those minutes and make sure that they're communicated fully to council, and that is an oversight on our part, and we'll do better on that.
And also a responsibility on the chair. Councillor Duffy?
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't want to be hard to get along with, but man, oh man, this is a slippery slope, because this will just take off like wildfire. It's people out there, it's hard enough to get them to do anything, let alone, anyway, I'm just nervous with it. That this is, I agree with Councillor Yankoff that this is setting an example, and once it starts, it's like in the old days, 1950s and early 60s, you're responsible for shoveling the sidewalk in front of your house, like on Highland Avenue, perpendicular to your own walkway up. And then they got this invention they call the sidewalk snowplow, and ever since that, it's been miserable. Like, back in the day, we could stay in shape easier because we had a shovel every morning, but now it's, we're answering phone calls looking for that little plow. So this is a one step forward type of thing, but I don't know. Anyway, I'll leave you with it.
Can I just get Councillor Rivard? Councillor Rivard, do you want to respond?
Yeah, Your Worship, I agree. It could be a slippery slope, but, I guess I posed the same scenario to everyone here at council to say that, let's assume you go camping for a week or on vacation for a week. You come home and find out that your yard has been damaged without your knowledge, and all of a sudden you're left with the bill. So, like I said, it's hard to charge the homeowner who, again, was unaware of this happening. It's just one of those unfortunate situations, and I'm hoping that they're few and far between, and we won't have to cross this bridge too many times.
Councillor Rivard, just to interject, excuse me, homeowners are responsible for their home. I mean, there's a lot of bad things happen to homeowners when they're home or away, so I really don't put too much credence to that. Anyway, leave it alone.
Councillor McCabe.
And I've kind of followed up a little bit because I wonder if squatters or if rodents are considered squatters, because I know we've always went to our bylaw officer and they've always posted notice for properties to be cleaned up. Appreciate that they have a week to do that. And then did it always vet back through committee? Because when I got information, it was always like it could come directly to council. So I'm getting conflicted. From one, I'm hearing that we could come directly to council after that week, and others I'm hearing it has to go through committee before it comes to council for these resolutions. And I'm only concerned because when rodents and pests become a problem, and we meet once a month for your committee, it makes it challenging if there are rodents or other issues as a result, and I just think that's unfair for property owners that are living next door to that. Is that something that we could look at or getting more clarification on legally from that?
I don't know, have we ever, we talk about unsightly premises when it comes to grass cutting and garbage and things of that nature that we clean up, but rodents, I think they go through a different process. They're...
It's the unsightly animals living in the long grass.
Yeah, that would fall under, I guess, the same if the call was made and, our bylaw officer identified that property as being unsightly, then it would follow this process. Rodents are not.
And that means it has to come back through your committee before it comes to council?
Correct.
Unsightly process?
Unless it's a timing thing where it just comes to council, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Donna, could you just clarify that, please? You've been, yeah, I know, can you just get it on the public record? Is that?
It is, the appropriate thing is to come through the committee and go to council. And I've become fairly familiar with that, as I've told Councillor McCabe that, the issue is that one of the authorities that council cannot delegate is the authority to walk onto public property, onto a private property. You can tell me to do this, that, and whatever, but going on a private property, only council can do that. And I believe Ms. Campbell behind me, we had this discussion many years ago, and she probably hasn't changed her opinion one little bit.
She's nodding her head in agreement with you, Don.
I appreciate that. I just wanted it stated on public record.
Good
I did
point.
not agree with you.
Good point. Question called? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, 8-0. Oh, sorry.
Moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Ramsay, that funds allocated for seasonal policing staff be reallocated to allow the hiring of 2 full-time police officers at total cost of $162,049.90, benefits, uniforms, etc. included, and that the necessary funds were allocated in the 2022 and 2023 police services operational budget.
Just, I have one here. There's nothing.
We can go back to that, Your Worship, when we figure it out.
Okay,
We
hold.
can just do number 3 first, and we'll come back to number 2.
Do you want to do this one that's on the floor now? Number 3? We're doing number 3?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead there,
Yeah,
Councillor.
Your Worship, thank you. Just, so if you've read your report, you'll know that, again, we budgeted $263,000 in our current budget for summer hirings. So this is not a new ask on top of this. Is simply, again, allocating some funds. It's not going to stop us from continuing to look for summer officers to help. But again, we've talked about this for years now, with the fire department and the police department being understaffed. These 2 officers are going to play a huge role moving forward again without any new monies coming, but they are going to be here full time and they are going to be here for years to come. But we just don't anticipate that we're going to have those summer students like we used to have. We're seeing that challenge significant right now, so.
Councillor Bernard, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do, and it's just confirming. So it looks like as what the chief said earlier, it's getting harder and harder to find seasonal staff, correct? So we're moving towards hiring more full-time officers if we can get them. So I assume that the goal is that we're not going to need the seasonal staff at some point because you can't get them anyway. So we're taking that money and putting it into the salaries for full-time. Because this is great now, but if we need seasonal staff next year, you got to put this money back in, and you're already spending for 2 officers. So that's why if that's the way we're going, that's fine. Is that the goal? Is to get away from, because there's no seasonal staff to be hired? Is that what the future is, or is this year just a one-off?
So my understanding is next year we will continue to budget for summer help. But again, with what we've seen in the last number of years, it's impossible to get. We just want to make sure that the small pool that's currently there now for summer, these officers, or full-time officers, if you will, there's other municipalities that are going through exactly what we're going through. Right. And they're going to choose full-time employment with the other municipalities over here. That's why, trying to pick up 2 full-time, and then we'll focus, again, we will ask for another budget amount like this for summer students, or summer officers, moving forward. If we get them, I don't know, but that'll affect next year's budget for sure.
Yeah, because you're adding $200,000 to it now. So that would be added to next year's budget. Because if you're going to reallocate the same money, then you're actually taking $200,000 now. Right?
Correct, with the
If it's gonna fix
anticipation.
the problem, it's well worth it. It's well worth it to me. Because if this what we're seeing is summer staff is hard to get, do we have a number for full-time officers that we're looking at to alleviate that problem?
I'll let the chief answer, but I'm guessing
Chief, you probably.
he'll leave it open-ended.
You can do a little crystal balling.
Yeah, we can only look at, Your Worship, at best practices, police officer per population ratios. We have communicated to council in the past that we are currently about 13 below the Atlantic average per 100,000. I think our strategy, given our current circumstance, needs to be gradual growth, taking advantage of seasonal and part-time officers when we can get them, and that current situation doesn't exist. But it's going to take some time to catch up to what is the
where we should be. So I think we need to adopt the strategy of gradual growth and get the part-time when available.
You're all right with that, Councillor Bernard? Good. Councillor Rivard, anything?
Yeah,
sum
Your
up?
Worship. I mean, it's the same. I mean, we're seeing that, you know, with the city with fire services as well. I mean, we hired 3 new firefighters. You know, this year we approved at budget time. So same thing. Even though we have a good complement of volunteers, we have to recognize that these are the needs moving forward for the fire departments and the police department. So again, it's been so long since we've had full-time hires on in either. Other than the 2, I guess we did last year, Chief, or 2 years ago with the police department. But when's the last time that we've had full-time firefighters, Deputy Chief, hired?
Your Worship. 2008 was the last career hire.
Yes, but we did make an offer 3 years ago. Remember that? The former chair of fire and police, they made an offer that, look, if you want to hire 2, then you have to look at your overtime. And we never heard back from them.
We're currently working through, Your Worship, our situation with the union in regards to negotiations, arbitration, and the hiring of the personnel and scheduling as well.
Yeah, Your Worship, again, my point being just that times are changing. The city is growing at a rapid pace, and again, our services, they can't fall behind, because, again, our residents are most important to us here, and their safety is the most important. So, like I said, we need to kind of continue to get ahead of it as opposed to chasing it.
That's why we need that new fire station.
Which is why I wanted to kind of figure this out, because if this is where we're going, then we probably should be looking at budgeting more money every year to hire full-time officers, because we're not going to be able to, because I think there's a little bit of uncertainty out there about, in the community, are we going to have enough policing this summer? And we've heard the reports about, you know, right now we're short-staffed, and we heard the chief saying there's going to be challenges out there. Pretty important to have the proper alignment of police, or allocation of police, especially during the summer months, so. Anyway, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Ramsey, did you call the question? Thank you, sir. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Good.
Moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Ramsey that the request to enter into a development encroachment agreement for the outdoor patio to be located in the 2 parking spaces in front of the Gaia Urban Eatery Charlottetown Limited, 62 Queen Street, Charlottetown, PID 336990, be approved to the end of the 2024 season, subject to annual permit applications, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts agreements to implement this resolution.
Questions called? Can you just turn on your mic?
I can. I'm just wondering, didn't we do 4 of these through planning, and now we're doing 1 through this department? Can someone provide clarification why they're all over the place?
I think this,
So-
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you do it.
Sorry, I was going to say that there's some that fall under the planning bylaws, and there's some that fall under the city police. So it's a parking space versus sidewalk versus, so it goes through different committees.
Can we, when we look at where it's going to be, put it all in one spot so it makes sense? Possible?
Probably not. Two separate bylaws, 2 separate.
Silly.
Thank you, Councilor McCabe. Okay. Question? Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Is that it, Donna? Oh, no, I know. I mean, for police. Thank you. We're not done yet. Well, Frank's here. Hey, Frank. Okay. Councillor Bernard. Parks, Recreation, Leisure.
Thank you.
Councillor, do you want to just go over Councillor Yankov? Councillor Advisory Committee? Do you want to give a report? Yeah, no, go ahead. Just trying to rush things along.
Maybe I'll talk really slow. So the Council Advisory Committee met on, where's my date? May the 27th, Friday. And the draft minutes are in your report. The biggest thing that noted is that committee thought, given the timeframe to fulfill a few of the vacancies that are there for some of the advisory committee boards, that committee did not deem it necessary with us so close to the November election, by the time we got the advertisements out, to advertise for these vacancies and got them onto the committees, they might only be at one meeting, and then you start the process all over again after election time. So, and with enough committee members now to ensure that quorum is met, that was the decision of committee. And other than that, I can do my best to answer any other questions in terms of council advisory. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yankoff. Councillor Bernard, question for the chair.
Yep, just one, and if you can't, you can get back to me another time if you can't answer it. I'm just wondering, several advisory committee boards vacancies. Is there a reason why there's so many vacancies?
Well, I can speak to two for sure. I know that one gentleman is no longer on our Affordable Housing Committee because he moved to Stratford,
Yeah.
so he had to resign. We have somebody else who accepted a job that put them in conflict, so they had to resign. And I believe there's only one other, wasn't there? There was three?
There's also with SURF.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
and the SURF, that gentleman stepped away from his position as well. And so each one has a little bit of
Yeah,
a story.
okay. Yeah, thank you.
And Councillor Bernard, two are leaving the mayor's task force on active transportation because of other commitments, but they've been there right from the beginning. And as Councillor Yankoff said, why fill them now? Within less than 5 months, we'll be knocking on doors, or before that. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay. Councillor Bernard.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Activities Committee, Your Worship, met on June the 6th, and the Seniors Engagement Committee met on May the 5th, and Your Worship, draft copy of those minutes are in this package. There are two resolutions, Your Worship, for council consideration. The first one is dealing with the, we talked about this before, the pre-engineered steel and the envelope package for the new Simmons multipurpose facility. We talked about, we want to get that tender out and get it going because that's the longest delay to get those materials here. The second resolution for council consideration is the installation of an irrigation system for the Winslow Soccer Complex, Your Worship. So if there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Moved by Councillor Bernard and seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that as per the recently advertised tender for Simmons Sports Center Arena and Pool Replacement, tender package number 1, pre-engineered steel and envelope package, the city accept the bid of $6,493,000 plus applicable taxes from Fitzgerald and Snow.
Well, this is good news. Thank you, Councillor Bernard. This is the first step of how many other tenders? You have 6 tenders in release?
We do.
Yeah. So this is the first because we have to get the steel ordered, correct?
Yes, the next one should be the removal of the pool. So that's expected to, we're going to see some groundwork by July.
Great news. Any questions on the resolution? Questions call. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor, okay, just 1 second.
Your Worship, I will say.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to make a comment, Your Worship. There was some comments there, and they wanted me to make it at the public meeting here. There is a community room going to be involved in this new facility. It's, I believe, 2,300 square feet, the size of it. Apparently, there's some people in the community that don't know that. So the plans are on our website. So if anybody wants to go to the website and see the plans of this facility, they can access them. So just to confirm that. Thank you.
Well, lots of excitement about it, that's for sure. It's great news. Donna, number 2.
Moved by Councillor Bernard and seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the City of Charlottetown accept the following bid of $24,500 plus applicable taxes from PEI Irrigation, Inc. for the installation of an irrigation system at the Winslow Soccer Complex.
Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Just the last comment, Your Worship, and Frank may want to give an update, just on the new outdoor facility in West Rowley. Your Worship, just the new multi-purpose facility up there where it is now, but construction has started.
Yeah.
Frank, do you want to
Frank,
give
just
an
press the
update?
button on there.
Yes, Your Worship. The facility is well underway. Anyone that has driven by it, the boards are in around it. They've done all the groundwork and all that done. I believe they're scheduled to potentially do the asphalt within the next week or two. So you'll see, but it is, you can really see it coming together there now.
Councillor from the area, Ward
Thank you,
7, Councillor Rivard.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and Councillor Bernard and Frank. Thank you so much. The excitement amongst the neighborhood is quite evident. I think people are super excited, and Councillor Cody, you can probably attest to it as well. Getting, I said, amongst all the bad news that we seem to be in the media for, I'm getting more calls of thank yous and the good work that we're doing in this. Like I said, the city or West Royalty area, super excited about this new facility. So thank you.
Your Worship, I could add to that. Some more
Add to
good
his
news.
comments?
You want good news?
Yeah.
So I guess from the JCH, the Winslow Alliance have been in contact with them, or they got a hold of me. They like the facilities that we built. They like the Gordy Griffin one. They like what they see in West Rowley. So they're looking to build the very same facility. And so we just have to work with them at their cost. They'll build it. Their ask is that we flood it. We flood it in the wintertime. So that's a discussion we'll still have to have, but that's another top class multi-purpose facility that the Winslow Lions Club are looking to. This goes back to the conversation we would have had with them last year. Whenever the budget was short, we would have went to meet with them. They still like the idea, so they're looking to put it out front of the land that they have. So anyway, so yeah, you're right. There's a lot of people that like what they see, and I can attest for in Hillsborough Park, the Gordy Griffin facility. It's been packed the last 2 years, and it's still used in the summer and for multiple different issues. And I went by there on my way here tonight, and there was some kids learning how to ride a bike in there. The parents had them in, teaching them how to ride a bike. So there's lots of uses for them.
Follow-up comment there?
Just follow up.
No,
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, so
all good news.
with these rinks being built in the summertime, can there be like pickleball, things like that, maybe tennis? I don't know, just certain kind of different use. I mean, pickleball is becoming very popular, and it'd be great if we had those type of things set up for the summer use.
Yes, they can. They can. They can have a couple of pickleball courts in these facilities. Yeah. And matter of fact, they do that out in Gordy Griffin. The ones that play bring their own netting and their own equipment. They set it up, they play, and then when they're done, they take that with them.
Thank you, Councillor Bernard. Good news on all fronts there, Frank. And again, a big thank you to the Charlottetown Islanders team for what they've done this past year. I know Mike Duffy, Councillor Duffy, and Councillor Ramsey, and some of the other councillors have been at the game. Councillor McCabe, you're still a sponsor?
I do the education. I don't go to the games.
Anyways, thank you very much for their great year, and hopefully next year will be better. Thank you very much. And I have a motion to adjourn.
No.
I
have one more.
New business?
One more.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'll finish out.
I just wanted to give a little shout out to Donna Waddell, this is actually her first monthly meeting of council with us, and it's just great to have you. So thank you.
Fully agree with you, Councillor Yankoff.
Donna's well experienced.
She knows the terrain. She knows the arena.
It's great to see you again, Donna. The only other thing I wanted to add, we talked about it briefly in here before, and now that we see where the government has signed off on the annexation of land in East Rowley from M&M Furniture down to Jules Country Garden and up to York Road. And the city is behind in their ball diamonds, their soccer fields. We have no pickle courts. We have no cricket diamond. So that's something that's been talked about. I guess the plan is to have some commercial on the St. Peter's Road and possibly the York Road, but there's 116 acres in there, and there's going to be at least 12 acres of it given to the city. So Frank's gone. But anyway, Frank
thought he was done. He's gone for a drink of water.
He's working with planning, because I know there's a process we have to go through for zoning the land and so on, but that's something, and we had put it out here before, asking different councils if they had, and if there's any land that was available that you knew of. The idea here is, I know Sherwood Ball is 2 ball diamonds short now, and with the registrations continuing to grow as they have the last 2 years, they'll be needing 4 ball diamonds within another year to 2 years. Sherwood Soccer again is down 2 soccer fields. West Rowley is apparently down a mini field. As we know, there's no pickle courts, there's no cricket. So getting a lot of requests, and there's people that want to come in and meet with council, and they want to see, you know, what we can do to get these facilities up and going. So this presents an opportunity for basically a sport complex where you can put a lot of these different sports in one area. And then, you know, in the future, if you put lights and so on, then it's not going to bother any of the residents. It's out of the way. So just giving council a heads up that the committee is working on that. The staff has been dealing with planning, and now that the annexation has been passed, so that's something that we'll be looking at. So.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Frank left the room. Councillor Bernard?
Yeah, good point, Councillor Bernard, because you see a lot of successful cities that continue to grow. What they do is they establish almost like little mini hubs amongst the city, and places that draw attention and people to those places. So, you know, if you can have those type of things, amenities with your shopping, with coffee shops and stuff, it becomes a mini hub and a place of gathering, and people can be proud of. So successful cities do that as they continue to grow. So,
yeah. No, you're right.
And successful regions too, Councillor Rivard, because Stratford, the town of Stratford, is looking at a second cricket pitch up in the Mount Herbert area. So they're really moving forward, which we can be part of as a regional group. Motion to adjourn from Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Ramsey. Councillor Twiggler, do you second that too? All in favor? Yay.